Let's slide towards name and fame. The host here is famous himself. He is none other than CPA Adil Baloch, whom you get to watch every single Saturday morning on the Capital Forum. Well, this morning, CPA Baloch has alongside him a name to fame gentleman. His name, Mr. Kelly Wright from Fox News. Besides being a broadcaster, I was impressed. Mr. Wright is extremely talented. Let's meet him in person and discover his talents. Stay tuned.
Good morning, viewers. This is Adil Baloch with Name and Fame here with you. I am a certified public accountant and a certified tax resolution specialist with my practice by the name of Accurate Records and Tax Services in Montgomery County, Maryland. With me, you probably have already recognized him, is Kelly Wright from Fox News. Welcome.
Thanks.
To our show, Kelly.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
Name and Fame, as you know, we bring different personalities and we give them the opportunity to share who they are, where they came from, and everything else about their lives. Obviously, as everybody probably knows, Kelly brings information to people. He's on national TV every week, but today the information he's going to provide is going to be different. It's going to be information about him. So what I will do is, without taking any more time from Kelly's time, let me just get started. Kelly, first of all, once again, welcome to our show. Thank you for giving us the honor of coming to GTV and spending some time with us. Why don't we start with, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
Where are you from, and where have you been, and what got you to where you are today?
I'd be delighted to. Well, I'm originally from Hagerstown, Maryland. That's my birthplace. It's an incredible story about my mother's courageous lifestyle in bringing me into this world to begin with. I mean, I'll get right to the point. My mother had been raped, and it looked like at that point she would not continue on with the pregnancy, but she did, against all odds, and as a result of that, I'm in this world. I was born 5 days after her 17th birthday. My mother had dreamed of becoming a psychiatrist. She became mine. But she endured the slings and arrows of being labeled in so many different ways as when she was pregnant as being, as they say in the street term, knocked up, and being promiscuous, but she hadn't been. She was sexually assaulted by a pastor who knew her, and I would say that my mother's story is one of courage. And out of that courage and faith and love, she was able to carry through the pregnancy, deliver me, and that was in Hagerstown, Maryland. So the reason why I set the stage there is that out of that came the person you're looking at today. I'm perfectly flawed, but loved by a perfect God who saw to it that I should be born for a purpose, and I think part of my purpose is to tell stories about good news, and that from its inception and conception is a story of good news, because it could have gone the opposite way. Wow. My mother could have elected to say, well, you know, this is not right, I'm going to get rid of the child. Instead, she kept the child, loved me, nurtured me, and while she abandoned her dream of becoming a psychiatrist, she did end up in so many ways kind of acting out that as a counselor to me, as a counselor to my sister, as a counselor to so many kids in Hagerstown who went to South Hagerstown High School, and just kids who grew up in that community, predominantly the black community, by counseling them and telling them how they should stay in school, what their goals could be. And she always cast a big vision. Mom's vision, her name is June. June's vision was always to cast this big vision of having a big dream, and then having big enough faith or small enough faith to believe that those dreams could be possible if you worked and took baby steps, little steps. And she said, never despise your humble beginnings. So out of that came this wonderful relationship between a mother and a son. Really had no father figure except for her, trying to make sure that I was equipped and ready for the world. And while I made a lot of mistakes along the way, such as kind of drifting towards the wrong side of life, she was able to not drift me, but drag me back to the right side of life. And as a result, because I learned at some point to listen to her, I'm now a journalist and reporter and anchor for Fox News Channel. So it was just a trajectory of going to school in Hagerstown, then spending some time in Washington, D.C., going to schools here, including Gonzaga High School, and then moving back to Hagerstown to finish high school at St. Maria Goretti, then going on to college in Tulsa, Oklahoma at Oral Roberts University, U.S. military after that in the Army, and then just station by station at various stations throughout the country, Savannah, Georgia, Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads, and then finally New York City and Washington, D.C. with Fox News.
Wow, that's really amazing. That's an amazing story. Bless her heart. She did a good job. I can see that. She did a tremendous job.
I owe it to her.
And actually, today being Mother's Day, this has come out perfectly, actually. I'm pretty sure our viewers will like it, and I'm pretty sure your mom is smiling right now.
Oh, she is. I wish she was still here. She passed in 2005, and I just treasure the pearls of wisdom that she instilled in me. Not that I always practiced it, mind you, because I had.
But she tried. It's up to you.
She tried, and so at some point I had to listen. There's a verse in Scripture that says, "Train up a child the way they'll go, and from that way they'll not depart." Sure. There's also one, "Don't spare the rod, because you'll spoil the child." So a few times when I was kind of out there on my own, so to speak, as a teenager, and even as a young adult male, I thought that I had all the things together, and life has a way of correcting you, and
there you go.
And mothers certainly have a way of correcting you and dressing you down to keep you humble.
Sure, I think we all go through that time after time. Your story is no different, and my mom is watching this, so she's probably thinking.
Well, happy Mother's Day to your mom.
Thank you very much. Happy Mother's to all the moms, as a matter of fact.
Yes, to all of them.
So you mentioned several different places that you have done reporting, local, national, and everything. Let's talk a little bit about your current position. What exactly you're doing as far as the reporting part is concerned.
Well, I absolutely love my current position. What I like to do more, of course, I always want to do more in terms of what I've been able to do for Fox News and with Fox News for the past 14 years. It's been quite a journey. Wow. And it's been a good one. In my current capacity, I'm the co-anchor of America's news headquarters. And since we're in the election cycle right now, it's America's election headquarters. I co-anchor the 4 o'clock Saturday show with Julie Banderas. Julie's a beautiful and talented and gifted young lady who has a great amount of skills. And so we work together quite well on covering all the events politically and globally. And then in my other capacity, I anchor overnights for breaking news, and certainly there's a lot of breaking news that happens in the world. Wow. Most of that breaking news comes from around the world at a time when most people in America are asleep. But we need someone at the wheel who's not asleep. So that's usually, when you're in a 24/7 operation like Fox News, you want to be on top of what's happening. And we've covered quite a few stories, such as the disappearance of the Malaysian plane, the shoot down of the Malaysian airline plane over Ukraine as well as the breaking news out of Paris and other places that have taken place in terms of terrorist attacks and the arrests thereafter, the subsequent arrests that took place. So there are a lot of developments that happen globally. Sure. Consequently, you need to be there overnight as well. Sure. And then I have a special series that I do called Beyond the Dream. And Beyond the Dream is really my baby. I started it about 6.5 years ago. Fox was gracious enough and kind enough to say, do this. And Beyond the Dream is about ordinary people who do extraordinary things. Wow. So with all the bombardment we get of negative news, Beyond the Dream settles us down to be inspired by someone else's life.
Wow. Very nice. That's thoroughly impressive. I know I've heard a little, not to put you on the spot, but I've heard a little scuttle here and there. You, other than the news, you do a few other things also. I'm just going to leave it to you how much you want to disclose, but But I've heard that you do other things outside of the news that you have. As you mentioned, you love your job, but there's something else that you do.
Oh, okay. Well, I speak and I also sing.
All right, okay.
I sing monthly at the Metropolitan Room, which is New York City's #1 jazz cabaret. And I do a show with my guitarist, Paul Sequence Ferguson. The show's called A Night of Smooth Jazz and Soul. So
Wow.
for all of those, especially those who are old school and like that smooth jazz and soul, we do that, and it's very entertaining. And the next show, by the way, is May 28th.
All right.
9
Okay,
p.m.
very good.
I'll be following the great Melba Moore. Melba Moore, her show starts at 7, and then I'm on at 9 p.m.
Wow.
So we invite you, if you're not doing anything over the Memorial Holiday, you should come up and see the
Sure,
show.
absolutely,
It's
why not?
very entertaining, very uplifting. I sing gospel, I sing jazz, I sing R&B. Anything that I can sing, I'm going to try to sing.
Wow.
So it's a passion of mine, and again, coming from my mother, who was a great singer herself, and she just passed that on to me.
Wow. So do you have something today maybe to share with our viewers?
Well, we have a couple of things. I had the pleasure of returning to my hometown to sing with the Maryland Symphony Orchestra during one of their Christmas shows. So we have a little bit of that, of me singing the great Mel Torme
Very nice,
classic.
excellent. I'm sure our
the
viewers
Christmas
will
song.
enjoy it. Very
Okay.
good. Viewers, let's listen to Kelly.
And now to sing Mel Torme's great Christmas song. Please welcome back to the stage Mr. Kelly Wright.
How are you? Good. In the news tonight. Very special song, especially for St. Maria Goretti fans. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, Yuletide carols being sung by a choir, and folks dressed up like Eskimos. Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe help to make the season bright. Tiny tots with their eyes all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight. They know that Santa's on his way. He's loaded lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh. And every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you. And every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly up in the sky. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas.
Wow, I am impressed.
Thank you.
It almost feels like Christmas now.
Well, it is
We're in the-
Christmas every day.
I know but it's Mother's Day. That's another Christmas. So
That's right.
very nice, impressive, impressive, extremely impressive. So how news, singing, and honestly, even though I've watched you over the years, and you know, I've even discussed some of the things that you have covered. I thought that you're probably one of the best out there as far as the
thank you.
news
Thank
goes. Now I'm thinking whether you are a better anchor person or you're a better singer. So fill me in, please. I really would like to know more about your
Well,
music, passion, and everything else.
You know, life is very short, so you should live it. And you should live it long and full and enjoy all of the gifts that God bestows you with.
Sure.
And for me to sit on my talent would be a slap in his face and in my mother's face. So I try to utilize all of my talents and skills to, one, be a better reporter, a better anchor who can emote with people, have more than just empathy, but to understand where they're from. For example, that Christmas song that we just showed at this time, I know it's Mother's Day, but it reminds me of what I just recently did with a wonderful organization that serves our members of the U.S. military. It serves their children.
Wow.
And thereby helps their families. Because one of the worst things you can do is have your dad or your mom away at Mother's Day, Father's Day, or
Sure,
Christmas
sure.
time, serving overseas or wherever they might be serving, and particularly if they're serving in harm's way. So that song has special meaning to me as well because of what it means for the children of these particular men and women who are serving in the military, because only 1% of Americans actually serve in the military. I'm a former member of the U.S. Army, so I'm grateful to the service that they have. But I just recently did a program with a program called Our Military Kids, and what they do, they mentor the young kids of the parents who are away on duty, because the military serves in just about every country in the world, and we represent America when we wear that uniform. But what does the child do when their daddy or their mom is away?
That's a noble thought.
They make an incredible sacrifice. The children do.
Sure.
And so consequently, the children sometimes have, and a lot of times they have, post-traumatic stress disorders.
Wow.
Because their needs are not being met because daddy isn't home or mommy may not be home. And that kind of creates a problem for them, as you could imagine. I grew up fatherless, so I really didn't understand what that was like until I saw it in the eyes of children who had been missing their dads because they were accustomed to having that two-parent home. So this is a wonderful program, and the reason why I was talking about this, they're going to have a Christmas in July, honoring the kids, trying to bring Christmas to them at a special time that they can actually have a Christmas in July. And so it's, like I said, it's Christmas every day.
Wow, that's a noble thought.
And that's where you see talent and
Sure.
the talent of these children and the talent that we have serving the military. And then just in terms of what I do, I just try to keep it all on the table. If I can speak to somebody, if I can help somebody, and since we're talking about Mother's Days, one of the things that my mother always told me is that, and it's actually a song, but she said, if I can help somebody as I'm traveling on, if I can help somebody with a word or song, if I can help somebody who is traveling wrong, then my living will not be in vain.
Wow.
And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. loved that song as well. My mother instilled that in me, and so as I got older and got through my prodigal and crazy ways, and I think I'm still checking that, but I try to live by that credo to help somebody with a word or song. So as I do the news, I'm actually looking at my particular participation with Fox News as being part of that, helping people with information, providing people with insight, and covering the news, the breaking news that happens throughout the day, and then through Beyond the Dream, trying to uplift them, to let them know that, yeah, you might be in a hard situation or a negative situation, but there are great people on this planet who are working in the midst of that situation, like our military kids, or kids that I know in Chicago. There are groups in Chicago who are helping the children in the inner cities avoid the violence that we've seen in Chicago and other places, where they're helping them and uplifting them. And as a result of that, those kids are going on to graduate high school and college, as opposed to being exposed to, well, they're exposed to the drugs and the violence and the mayhem that exists, but they're surviving and overcoming. So not just surviving, but thriving. So that's news, that's music,
that is certainly a noble thought. Now, I know so far we have talked about everything Kelly Wright as a news anchor or a singer and everything else, the adult Kelly Wright. We started out, you started out with your mother, which was actually a perfect way to start this program on a Mother's Day. Can we talk a little bit about, maybe your childhood, how it was, anything you want to share with our viewers on how it has been? And
I was always a curious child, but I was also very shy.
Okay, I see.
I was extremely shy. My mother had to work with me to try to bring that out of me. I remember growing up, I was always in love with music. I was infatuated with music. I tried to learn how to play the trumpet. My mother played piano. I play at the piano. I'm not good. I did play trumpet for a little bit. I loved sports as a child. I always enjoyed having my friends and hanging out with friends who kind of wanted to do the same things that I wanted to do. But I just had this great imagination. I always dreamed that one day I would be this singer, this actor. And my mother saw that I was starstruck, and she worked with me and developed that talent. But then when I wanted to pursue that on a full-time level, she was saying, you might starve. So she used that as a way of motivating me to pursue education. And so I went to school to pursue a degree in communication arts, which I was able to get in, and I've kept television and the media first and foremost, but on the side I've continued to do my talent. So as a child, I played sports. I would go out and it was just inquisitive.
Any particular sports?
I played basketball, and I was bad at it. So when I realized that I wasn't a good three-point shooter, or my jump shot wasn't that good and wouldn't take me to the heights, and I was too short anyway. Although there are some very
good
talented basketball players who are short, I wasn't one of them. So I would play sports, but not football, but just basketball, and I look at some of the kids who are very talented today, but I'm always telling them, what do you have to fall back on if you can't make it to an NBA team or a Major League Baseball or football? So that means you have to get that education.
Sure.
Education is very important. So I struggled as a student sometimes because I was just struggling with me, trying to adjust to growing up as a child. Yeah. But I was always a dreamer, and I always dreamed that I would do some things. And so finally, when I started looking at or distilling what I really wanted in life, I started dreaming that I would get into radio and television. And when I lived in D.C., I was able to meet some very good people in Washington who also helped propel me towards that. And that was one, Jim Vance. Remember Jim when I was 13 years old, and Jim was telling me that I could pursue television. There's a guy now who's now deceased, Bobby Bennett, who was the #1 DJ here in D.C. He worked at WOL. And Bobby was so instructive. Bobby became like a big brother to me.
I see.
And Bobby would always tell me to pursue my degree, pursue education. And so at the age of 16, while I was in Hagerstown, I was actually working in radio. And I developed a show called Soulful Sounds on radio. And that turned out to be a good thing because that community at the time didn't have any R&B. So I was delivering that to them with a 1-hour show that aired weekly.
Wow. So do you also have maybe some CDs of your songs out there, or have you?
I do. I have I have 2 gospel CDs that are out there right now. The latest one was a gospel CD that I recorded in Nashville with some very talented musicians. One, Tyrone Dickerson, who had been the musical director for Yolanda Adams, produced. He's the executive producer of that CD, and that's called Goodness and Mercy. So it's still available in iTunes. Getting ready to go into the studio to work on another CD. That will be a compilation of some old R&B standards and bring that out. And then a couple of originals we'll throw in there as well.
Wow. One question that I have to ask now.
Sure.
It's a Fox News New York, music, CDs. As far as I know, you live in my neighborhood. You live in Montgomery County. How do you handle all this?
Well, a funny thing happened. I was working in our DC bureau of Fox News for, 8 years, or 10 years actually, and then Fox asked me if I would consider moving permanently to New York. And since I had already been traveling back and forth to do the different shows that I would anchor, plus report from our DC bureau, I said, well, sure, why not? My wife decided she wanted to stay here because our 2 sons were planning on getting married. It's pretty hard to tell your wife, who's also the mother of your 2 children, no, you're coming with me. So I understood because her sons had priority in getting married, so she stayed here. So now we have a home in Clarksburg, and I have an apartment in the New York area.
Let me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but let me take this opportunity and thank Loretta for letting us borrow you for this time. I really appreciate, because I know you travel back and forth, and you don't probably not get as much time at home as you would like to. I'm pretty sure.
She likes it. Let them go up. Let them get up.
But let me thank her anyways. It's Mother's
Yeah.
Day, so she deserves it, and
Yes,
I really
she
would
does.
like to thank her for that one. I will make sure. I personally will make sure that my boys, as you know, I have 2 boys, 21 and 16. I will make sure that they watch this program, probably multiple times. Could you please share something with the younger generation?
Oh, I'd love to.
Anything, just say something.
Yeah,
Talk
I'd
to
love
them
to.
directly, please.
I'll talk
the
to you
camera.
directly as I talk to my own 2 sons and my daughter as well. My daughter is the oldest of the 2 boys. But what I always told my children is that you can do anything you imagine if you dream it, and then if you go out to achieve it. Because if you can conceive it, you can achieve it if you believe it. And I also told my sons, always understand that I am behind you 100%. For my daughter, I said, make sure if you're going to marry, you marry the man of your dreams and the man who can live up to that. And she did, so I'm grateful. She is a home nurse. My boys, my oldest son is a business manager at Apple, and my youngest son was a recording artist who had a Christian metal band. He toured around the world.
Wow.
And when he realized he was done with that, he began to pursue his education, and today he is a news anchor in Hagerstown, Maryland.
One thing that I should mention, one of your sons play golf at Tiger Woods. I'm an avid golfer, so I just wanted to mention that.
That's my son, Michael. Michael played, received some instructions from Tiger Woods. He's very good.
Unfortunately, that's how much time we have. I'm pretty sure we would love to bring you back. It was
Anytime, Adel. Thank you.
Actually, thank you very much for being here, viewers. Here's the guy, the star. I thought he was in news, but he obviously is in too many other things, and we got to see the other side of Kelly Wright today that most people probably were not aware of. Kelly, thank you very much for being with us. As I said, we hopefully will be bringing you back, and we leave our viewers with another piece from Kelly.
Hey, baby. Always and forever, each moment with you is just like a dream to me that somehow came true. And I know tomorrow will still be the same, 'cause we've got a life of love that won't ever change. And every day, love me your own special way, melt all my heart away with a smile. Come on. Take time to tell me you really care, and we'll spend tomorrow together.